is important for you, the listening fan, myself, the speaking fan, any Tennessee fans out there. August the 16th at 7 p.m., they will be having what looks to be their annual open practice. It'll be a day of Tennessee getting out there and doing game-like situations. Butch wants to see as much of a game-like atmosphere as possible. So that means us Tennessee fans have got to get out there and, you know, I don't expect us to pack the house with 90+ thousand, but I think we can do our job and put a lot of butts in the seats out there and help this team. It would be a major help for these youngsters. Gates open at 6 o'clock. Practice starts at 7 o'clock, quite obviously, rain or shine.
Free parking.
Do what?
Free parking. That always helps.
Yeah, exactly. Free parking. So no excuses, volunteer fans. If you're in the neighborhood, get your hind ends out there and watch this team practice and, you know, do your part. Moving along, we've got several things to talk about tonight. We're going to touch on a few things that we just briefly hit on last week that we didn't have the time to really dive into and analyze the best we can. Let's talk about this offensive line and defensive line thing, Carter. You know, it's been a topic that you and I have discussed ad nauseum every day just about that we talk about Tennessee. It's what Butch Jones has talked about. Everybody talks about this offensive line and this defensive line supposed problem that we have this year. First time maybe in the history of, you know, college football that a team, especially a team as major as Tennessee, has lost both the offensive and defensive lines. And, of course, we've got some change-ups coming on the line this year. We've got some guys that have been here for a while. We've got some guys that have just arrived on campus, but at the same time have been playing offensive line at the JUCO level that we're going to be expecting big things out of. And we've got over on the defensive line a move from linebacker to defensive end and our boy Kurt Magette. Talk, if you would, Carter, a little bit about both of these situations, some of the players, and what you kind of hope to see this year.
Well, you know, one thing I heard Matt Crowder say about the offensive line was that, yeah, we lost all our starters from last year, but the offensive line we have now, we've been together 2 to 3 years. We don't have the game time experience, but we know each other. You know, we played with each other, so that's got to help. It's still going to be a transition, you know, for 60 full minutes of a football game. You know, it's going to wear them out. But I think we got depth. I mean, I know we got depth at the offensive line position, and that's huge. So that's going to help. Of course, we have to go into the SEC, so that's not easy with some of these big-time powerhouse defenses in our conference. But I feel like if they can, you know, get together and just get experience early on with the first couple games, I think we'll be fine. But it's still going to be tough. And as far as the D-line goes, the D-line to me has a lot more experience than the O-line. We saw a lot of guys come in last year for certain plays and for a couple games. So I'm not so worried about the D-line as I am the O-line. Of course, like you said, Kurt Magette, he's going to be a defensive end, which is huge. I think he'll do a really good job. And, of course, we got Vereen. You know, a lot of these guys have experience on the D-line. So, like I said, I'm not as worried about the defensive line as I am the O-line, but I think after a couple games, we'll be all right.
Yeah, Butch Jones talked today about how some of these guys, Matt Crowder in specific, you know, he's been there. This is his 4th year at the University of Tennessee on the UT campus. And is that our boy calling in?
Hola, no. You see, yo puedo hablar con ACP Carter. ACP Carter, happy birthday. Ese tu papá from Cuba, Fernando. Happy birthday.
I appreciate it, Unc.
Okay, I'm listening to you guys, man. You guys are having a great show. I just want to say happy birthday to Carter. How old are you now?
I'm 24, Unc. 24.
Okay, man. So what you going to do tonight?
I don't know, man. Just probably relax. I might go out for a little while, but we'll see.
Get some pussy? You gonna get some pussy?
Oh.
All right, man. Hey, y'all take it easy, man. I'm just calling in to wish Carter a happy birthday.
Thanks,
care,
man.
All right.
That's your boy D Nasty from the Cane Shades Radio, and you can see those guys have no tooth down there, but that's okay. We love our friends down there in South Florida, even our resident Cuban Unc, one of my favorite Cubans of all time. And it was nice of him to call in and wish you a happy birthday, Carter. We'll have to thank him for that in our own special way later on. Totally took me off guard. We were talking about the offensive line there. We'll get back to that. Matt Crowder, a guy that's been on campus for 4 years. He is, I believe, a redshirt junior this year. You can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but here's a guy that showed up on campus 4 years ago, a young, very thin offensive line prospect. I actually got to talk to Matt Crowder the summer before he went to UT, and I was impressed by his attitude and the way he carried himself, but I was a little bit concerned about his size. I'm thinking, man, if this is the kind of people we're recruiting to play offensive line, we might be in trouble. But Mac has done it the correct way. He stayed after it in the books. Mac is a super bright young man. If you don't know anything about Matt Crowder's family, he had a couple of brothers that went to Ivy League schools. So, definitely no shortage of brains in the Crowder family. But keep it at football. Carter, he's went about it the right way. He's gotten bigger over these years, and if you look at this young man right now, he looks like a kid that's ready to play hard-nosed SEC line football this year, and I'm really looking forward to keeping up with him and seeing what he does. Several other guys, Dontavius or Dontavius Blair, the JUCO transfer. We're going to be expecting huge things from him on the line. Marcus Jackson, another guy that's kind of been biding his time and waiting his turn. These are guys now, man, that are like, it's go time. And if you can't make something out of your situation now after sitting on the bench for 2 and 3 years, or working your way up the JUCO side of things, it's time to go play big time football, and now's your chance to get out there and prove that you can do it. And I fully expect these guys to do just that. Something else we were talking about or wanted to talk about earlier about this team speed. Where's it coming from this year, Carter?
It's got to be the wide receivers. Jalen Hurd, running back, freshman, he's fast, but I think Pig Howard, he's proved that he's very speedy. I could see us using him, even run the ball a few times, maybe on the outside or something. But like I said, the receivers, that's where the speed's coming from. We have a lot of depth at receiver. I think that's our strong suit going into this year. Of course, we got Marquez North. We got the freshman Josh Malone. Definitely going to be our strong suit for sure. Vic Wharton. And another guy that I'm anxious to see out there who was a freshman last year, redshirt, is Ryan Jenkins. He's the son of Lee Jenkins, VFL. And I hear he is one of the fastest guys on the team. So I'm really anxious to see him this year. His height is the thing that concerns some people. He's 5'11", but all these, receivers not as tall as they used to be. Not every receiver is going to be 6'4". So very anxious to see him.
Well, kind of what I had in mind when we went into this discussion was when I asked, where's the speed coming from? You mentioned a lot of guys that, that were here last year and a lot of guys that we're going to expect big things from on the offense, but I was speaking mainly from a defensive standpoint. That's where we got embarrassed last year.
Oh.
If you look back at the Oregon game, it almost looked like Oregon let up on us in the fourth quarter. I look at that game now and I feel like they could have maybe scored 70 points if they wanted to, just based on their speed. And a lot of that was coming from defensive breakdowns and busts, guys being out of position, guys once they had gotten out of position not being able to catch up to the play and of course not being able to catch up to the wide receivers. Now, granted, this is Oregon we're talking about. There's not many teams that we're going to catch up with those guys anyway. My point being, I think we've got some freshmen that we're going to have to depend on this year to come in that's going to close that speed gap. We're still a couple of years away, and I think the over-optimistic Volunteer fan, which used to be me, would say, you know, all these young guys this year will come in and make enough of a difference to where we see it in points scored, points allowed, and victories. But I don't know, Carter. I don't know if we've got enough just yet to completely balance the scales. I think you'll see definite improvement. You'll see great strides in their speed this year, but I just don't think we're quite there yet. I think we're, like I said, a couple of years away. Kicking game, something else this year that a lot of people have forgotten what happened there. We lost pretty much our entire kicking game last year with Michael Pilardi, a guy that went from GOAT to hero. You know, 2 years ago, the guy couldn't kick it into the stand. Last year, he was pretty much the MVP of our team, from punting teams back into that coffin corner and pretty much clutch from the field goal standpoint as far as I'm concerned. What do you see this year, our kicking game looking like? Who's going to do the kicking dudes, in your opinion? Let's have it.
Well, it's kind of like our QB situation. I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite at this point. We've got George Bullock and Aaron Medley. They're both from Tennessee. Bullock's a redshirt sophomore. Medley's a freshman, but both were very highly sought-after high school kickers. And they both, I think either one of them could take the position and just run with it. So, of course, we also got Derek Brodus, who we all know came in for the MTSU game because Pilardi was hurt, and he came out of the frat house and put on a uniform and, you know, played that day. But as far as that goes, it's going to be probably a game time decision, just kind of like the QB situations. But I think either one of them can do a pretty good job. Like I said, they both had great high school careers, and I think they're both very good kickers.
Yes, sir. 1-855-403-9071, the number to call here on Vols Checkerboard Country if you want to chime in. If you want to call in and make fun of us, whatever you want to do, give us a call, man. We need callers. We need you guys to call in and give us some fresh things to talk about here. Maybe call in and talk about your team and give us someone to make fun of. You know, it's a beautiful day out there. We're expecting a phone call from our buddy out in Middle Tennessee. We haven't received it yet. A potential new member of the show, Jeremiah. He's going to hopefully join us here just as, well, to be honest with you, as soon as we can get him to call in. Not really sure what's going on. Jeremiah, if you're listening, that number, 855-403-9071. Give us a call, man. We'd like to hear from you out there in Middle Tennessee. Carter, there was one thing we were going to talk about last week that we never got to, and that is your favorite subject, uniforms. You know the drill. The smoky gray hit the scene last year. All of a sudden it becomes an official color of the University of Tennessee. I'm not so sure about that myself, but what are your thoughts on last year's uniform changes and what has been mentioned about this year?
Well, when I first saw Smoky Grays, I was not a fan. You know, I'm a traditionalist at heart, orange and white till the end. But if the recruits like them and the players like them, then you know what, I can like them. So as far as that goes, they were fine. I wish we would have won in them. You know, we've lost 2 games now wearing the grays, and yeah, I know a fabric really doesn't make the difference in a win and a loss, but it sucks to lose when you're doing something. But especially when you're wearing a certain uniform, but that doesn't matter. And as far as this year goes, Dave Hart said a couple weeks ago that be ready or be expecting a new alternate uniform and possibly a new helmet. Now, for me, that kind of That kind of scares me. I know I've